Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. If you're having problems hearing me, please make a note in the comments. Or if you can't hear me, you obviously are not going to be able to make a note in there. I'll put something up that says that you. Um, so yeah, so if you can't hear me, leave a note there in the comments. And this is a little bit different kind of program than we've used before for anything like this, and so it's going to be kind of an experiment for all of us. But if you have questions at any time, I will try and get to them, and leave those questions down in the comments below, and that will I'll see those, and I can kind of put those up, and I can address them as we come up, especially if I'm not necessarily going to address them in any other place. Um, so let's do this as we get started today, and that is I want us to open first with a word of prayer. So let's pray. Most gracious God, as we gather together today to talk about what it's going to look like for us to reopen our church and to begin having services again, and what that's going to mean in this time of crisis and pandemic and all that we are facing. Lord, help us to listen, help us to have wisdom, help us to be guided by your hand to do what is best, not just for us, but for all of your children in this world, that we can be a part of making things better as we go forward. Lord, we ask all this in your Son's name. Amen. Hey, this is going to be a fun feature because I can put up here that you say good morning, and I can tell you good morning back. Like I said, this is kind of a fun program that we're doing. It has lots of potential applications for other things. So let's kind of get into things a little bit and talk about what this is going to potentially look like. Let me go to here. We'll put this up, and some of the first things we're going to look at are kind of what it is that's been behind what was going on in putting this plan together, and kind of those guiding philosophies, you could say, or guiding ideas are that first, we don't need to be first. We don't have to be first out of the box to get back started, to get back up and running, and to try and get everything back to normal, especially as we don't really know a lot of what it means to be normal right now. And so we are going to take our time as we go through this, so that we can do things well, we can do things right, so that we can, or at least to the best of our ability, and so that we can abide by these next two things. The first is that we want to make sure that we are doing things safely, and so the safety of our people, of our church members, and everyone is an important part of this. And the second part is Jesus' command to love our neighbor. And one of the ways that we can best do that is taking our time as we go forward and doing things in as safe a way as possible as we go through this. And so those are kind of the guiding ideas behind why we are doing things the way that we're doing them. And so what we want to look at next is then what is it going to look like when we fully get to reopen, when that time comes, when everything is back to maybe perhaps the way that it was, or at least close to that. And so what's going to determine that for us are state, county, and city guidelines. We will follow all of those as they become known, and follow their direction and their guidance as we do this. And so these are going to be the first pieces of things that we are going to follow. The second is advice from our own conference. Our conference has been good about putting information out and helping us to understand what's going on and what that means for us. And so they will be continuing to add guidance to us, and our bishop has been good at sharing that with us, so that we can know his thoughts on things, and also kind of just make sure that we're doing things in the best way that we can. And then finally, our own needs and our own concerns. Those every church and every community is unique and different. And so the last part of this is what is unique to us that we need to make sure that we are watching for and that we take into account as we go forward. And so those are as we look at things as far as when we will fully reopen, those are the things that are going to be guiding our thoughts and guiding our plans. And so I should also say that you can find this, the full plan will be up on our website, marcelineumc.com. Just go to the blog tab and find the one that says reopening plan, and all of that is posted up there so that you can see that and go into some more detail, because there's some parts of this we aren't going to go into a lot of detail today, but is just to make you aware of what it is that's going on around us. And so along that, we have our timeline for when things are going to begin to happen. And that is, we all know that the governor's stay-at-home order was lifted on May 4th. That was yesterday at this point, and things are beginning the process of reopening. And so what changed from May 3rd to May 4th, essentially, as best I can tell, is that we still should be maintaining, through this phase one, we should still be maintaining our social distancing and doing a lot of the same things we were under the stay-at-home order. But businesses have been reopened, other places have been reopened, that inside of a good set of practices and guidelines that we are able to keep things open, or begin opening things up and helping folks to know what's going on, and let folks into stores and other places, and we can begin to kind of get back to life as normal, or at least as much as we can. That doesn't mean that things have to start back up after this. It just means this is the first time that it's been possible. Now, part two of this, or the next one there, on May 11th, and this really should say by May 11th, I will have sent out a survey, both by email, Facebook, and also regular mail to everyone in the church, so that we can get an idea of something really important, and that is that when we start back up, that we aren't all going to be able to gather in the same service. And that is that's an unfortunate consequence of all of this, but we're not going to be able to put all of us in one place. One of the guidelines that's been coming down from the state that is very useful, also coming from our own Linn County Health Department, is that they're recommending that we don't fill more than 25% of our capacity at any given time. And so that we can maintain those kinds of numbers, we will be having 3 different services once we start back up on May 24th. One of those is going to be online. So we will continue our online service probably for a good long while, if not most or all of the summer, just to make sure that we're taking care of business in there. And so that will be that will be one of those services. And then we'll also be offering services at 9 and at 10:30. Neither one of those is our normal worship time, and that's okay, because those are times when we can still get together, and it gives us plenty of time between services to make sure we get things cleaned up and taken care of. And so these surveys, when they come out, I'm going to be asking you to let me know which service that you're going to attend, so that we can both watch numbers and see how many folks we've got, and then kind of divide things up for anyone who doesn't send in a survey, that we can say, we can help kind of folks identify which service to go to if they haven't signed up, so that we can keep our numbers where they need to be. And then after May 24th, we'll be kind of reevaluating things then at the beginning of June to see what other restrictions and guidelines that we can begin to relax on. And so that really is the beginning of June will be the earliest that things will begin to go back to what we would think of as normal. And so, and I should say that when we are looking at this, when we're looking at the May 24th, we wanted to make sure that we had enough time in there to be safe. And that is that when things open up, this gives us almost 3 weeks of time for things to happen before we start to come back to worship. And so it gives us lots of time, gives us lots of space in there to make sure that we are taking care of things. And so let's go back to this. And so as we begin to come back, There are going to be a number of things that we can't do any longer. There are going to be things, or at least for a while, there are going to be things that will need to be changing and things that will be different as we go through this. As always, do check the full plan on our website so that you can see the full list of these. We're just going to be mostly hitting the highlights on this today of all the different things that are going to be changing and that we need to be aware of. And so some of the things that we can't do for a while until we begin to come back more fully, and that is that there will be the only activity that will really be taking place at church on a regular basis is going to be worship. There'll be no small groups, no Bible studies, no Sunday school, no anything else really that will be happening at the church. We may be having a few meetings, but those are only going to be the ones that are absolutely necessary for us to have, and we'll talk more about what that looks like here in a minute. The other big one is going to be no physical contact. That means no handshakes or hugs or even little elbow bump things in there. None of that either, as we continue to maintain that all-important social distancing. So no physical contact, unless you live with someone. If you're members of the same household, that's okay, but no one outside of your household. That means there'll be no passing of the peace. And as a part of that, also no meals for a while at church. And not just no meals, but no coffee, no water before the service. All of those things are going to have to take a break for a while. And we won't be passing anything. So there'll be no attendance pads, no offering plates, and also no hymnals or Bibles or anything else in our pews. We're going to be running everything off of the screen for a while just to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to keep things as safe as possible. Also during this, the first time that we will hopefully come back and share communion together will be in June. And then we'll be kind of taking a look and seeing the best ways that we can do that. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that again in June, and so we'll have to see how that's going to go. The next part of this is what needs to change. And this is one of the big ones. We will have to maintain our social distancing. That means when you come in, things will be very different. That means that if we are coming into the sanctuary, we'll have greeters outside to kind of make sure that we're all coming in so we aren't coming in on top of each other. So we're maintaining good distance, and greeters on the inside that will kind of keep us moving so we don't congregate too much around the front door to the sanctuary. And when you come in, the pews will be marked off so that we can only sit in every other pew. That way we can make sure we have good distance in front of us and behind us. And then the other really important part of this is that if you can only sit by yourself or with members of your own household, not your family, your household, the people that you are living with. And then there needs to be 6 feet of distance between individuals or households and the person or households between you. And that way we can make sure that we are staying as safe as possible. Other things will change. Meetings will be held by Zoom. And you can see an asterisk up there, and that's because there will be some meetings where we might have folks that are in the church. Those are necessary meetings. If you've seen the picture we put up on Facebook last week, or it was in the email on Monday, excuse me, showed our church council meeting where we had folks that were joining us by Zoom, and we had other folks who were sitting there in the fellowship hall, and we were all masked up. And so if we're having meetings at the church, we're going to keep the numbers as small as possible, and we'll all be wearing masks. Otherwise, most things will happen by Zoom. Next piece to know is that please use the restrooms at home. If you're having an emergency and you absolutely need to use it, go ahead. Just know that we will need to make sure that bathrooms get cleaned in between folks who use it. So it's just going to be easier if you can at all possible use the restrooms at home before coming to church. And then one other part of this is that as much as possible, because trying to meet in the sanctuary is going to be complicated, that we will be worshiping outside, weather permitting. That makes it easier. That means if you would like, you can stay in your car. But that also means that if you bring some lawn chairs and other chairs, so long as we're maintaining our 6 feet of distance, we can sit outside and enjoy the weather and worship in that way. And that makes things a whole lot easier for all of us if we can be outside. So those are some. I'm looking back at my list to make sure that I haven't missed anything there. And so what will be different? Um, we will need to be minimizing the amount of time that we're spending in the sanctuary, mostly so that we can have plenty of time to clean between services and make sure everything gets wiped down and wiped off and gets disinfected as best as possible. And so, it's as much as we would all love to be there and visit at church, we'll need to not be doing that for a little while to spend as little time in the sanctuary as we can. And then while we are in worship, I'm going to ask that you please do wear a mask for that, so that we have that, so that we're just being careful around one another. And if you are someone who, and I know there's several of you out there that have been making masks, if you would like to bring some extras that we can have just in case someone forgets theirs, and if you just put that in a little baggie, and we can have that there at the church, and so they can be given to folks as needed when we get to worship. And then also, there's going to be a lot more cleaning. We will have hand sanitizer available at the doors to the sanctuary, but also, we'll be wiping things down and cleaning things in between services. So any public spaces will get wiped down, and we'll get cleaned up, so that we are in good shape for the next service to come. And finally, one big important thing is, well, actually a couple of them here, and that is that if you are in one of those at-risk categories, this is please continue to worship online for the time being. We want to make sure that you are staying safe and that you are staying healthy, and we'd ask just that you continue to worship online and from home until we reopen fully. That is both for your safety and for others, and we just want to make sure that we continue to see you in good shape and in good health. The other part of this is that we are. You all have been wonderful in your offerings that you have made during this time, and they are very much appreciated. We're going to add another option to that, and I'll have more information coming out for that later this week. In addition to being able to make offerings by mail, or if you would like to, like to be able to put that in an offering plate in the back of the sanctuary, that would be fine. But we're going to have an online giving option also. And that will be that's easy to use and easy for us to set up, and hopefully can kind of help make some of those things more possible as we go forward. So let me go see more of my bright shining face this morning, and let me come back here. Sorry, I was looking at different things I wanted to poke. And so if you have a question, go ahead and type that in there, or even if the live part of this has ended and you still have questions later, you can go ahead and ask them, and I can answer them here on the Facebook post. And Zoe did have a question here. She says, "Does that mean me?" Talking about folks that are at risk. If you think you might be at risk, and that means folks above a certain age, or with other health conditions, that probably is a good idea to continue to worship from home for a while until we begin to reopen things more fully. I'm hopeful that by the first part of June that we will be there, but also going to ask that you use your best judgment in that. And I don't know about you all, but I've kind of gotten a little bit comfortable going to worship from my couch. Makes it kind of odd when I'm watching myself preach, but it's a nice place to sit, much more comfortable than a pew. But that is a part that we'll ask you to do for the time being. Again, if you have any other questions, do feel free to put those in the comments, and and we will do the best that we can to answer those. We'll have this full report will be coming out. Our full plan will be coming out also in our newsletter that'll be coming out probably later today or tomorrow. And as always, if you do have any questions, you can email me or contact the church, and we can do our best to answer them. I hope you all have a good day and a wonderful day, and hopefully we will see each other in person again very soon. Have a good day, and we'll see you soon.